Yeah, I've been a pawnbroker there for over 10 years. I want to say 2004, maybe the end of 2003. I became a pawnbroker, started working for Rick.
Wait, did you hear that Chumlee from Pawn Stars was sentenced to life in prison? Yes, you heard me right. Life in prison. Crazy, right? People across the internet were buzzing, dropping comments, and firing off frantic messages about what might have gone down. If you're scratching your head right now thinking, this sounds completely wild, what did Chumlee do? Buckle up, because you're not the only one who had that jaw-dropping reaction. Rumors spread like wildfire. Are we about to see the most laid-back, hilarious member of the famed Las Vegas pawn shop locked away forever?
Rick will call in someone that he thinks will know the most about it, and then he'll kind of listen to what they have to say, and he's real good at determining a price from, gathering all the knowledge.
Could our favorite lovable goofball really be facing such a grim fate? But let's pause and ask ourselves, where did all this chaos come from? Is there something the mainstream media isn't telling us? Or is this just another social media rumor that spiraled out of control? Before you jump to conclusions, keep in mind that the truth might be a lot more complicated, and maybe even more interesting than the headlines. Okay, so here's what went down. At some point, the internet got hold of a rumor, maybe from a clickbait article, maybe from a social post that took off. And the buzz was that Austin Lee Russell, better known as Chumlee, wasn't just in trouble, but was actually sent away for life.
And at one point, he owned a Quiznos right there by the courthouses. I worked at the Quiznos 8 hours a day, and then I worked at the pawn shop 4 hours a day. I actually worked 135 days straight without a day off, because I worked on the weekends at the pawn shops for 10 hours a day.
In the age of viral posts, you see a headline, freak out, and hit share before looking for the facts. Cue thousands of freaked out fans and curious onlookers texting friends like, dude, did you see what happened to Chumlee? You can't blame them, the rumor was that intense. But here's the real story. Chumlee was never sentenced to life in prison. Yes, he got into serious trouble a few years back. Yes, there was a run-in with the law, but a life sentence? That part is pure fiction. You know how one big misunderstanding can snowball into a conspiracy theory that breaks the internet? That's exactly what happened here.
I mean, you're not even expecting JFK's
How do you
cigar
begin
box.
to put a price on that?
I don't. That's where we call in people, that's where, stuff like that is totally out of my realm. I wouldn't want to spend Rick's money, so.
Today, we're peeling back the layers to see what actually took place, why Chumlee still walks free, and how he's managed to turn things around. Because believe it or not, there's way more to this guy's journey than a phony headline. Let's rewind to where it all began. Before he was cracking jokes on Pawn Stars, Austin Lee Russell was just another kid from Henderson, Nevada, rolling through life with a quirky nickname. You see, at age 12, a friend's dad apparently thought his face resembled a walrus from an old cartoon, Tennessee Tuxedo. The character's name was Chumlee, and like the best nicknames, it stuck.
The biggest difference is going from 12 employees to 60. So, we got more employees in the back of the shop than we had in the entire shop previously,
But let's be real. None of us expected that harmless nickname to become part of reality TV history. Chumlee was tight with Corey Harrison, whose dad Rick and grandfather Richard founded the gold and silver pawn shop in Las Vegas. Back then, Chumlee was just the friend who hung around the shop for laughs and pocket money. Fast forward a few years, the History Channel decides to roll cameras in Rick's pawn shop, cameras roll, drama ensues, and boom, Pawn Stars becomes an overnight sensation. Millions of us got hooked on the comedic banter, intense negotiations, and surprising historical deep dives that made the show a staple of reality TV. Chumlee stood out as the comic relief, the guy who might have looked clueless sometimes but always had a hidden knack.
Some of the people and some of the stuff. I mean, we say you just never know what's going to walk through those doors, and you really don't. I mean, the same stuff walks through there, autographs walk through there all the time, but then you get something like JFK's cigar box.
Like his surprising know-how with pinball machines. Life was good, the show was huge, and things were on the up and up. So how did it all go south? Here's where the story takes a dark turn. In 2016, police raided Chumlee's home during an investigation stemming from a sexual assault claim. Even though that specific claim didn't stick, and he wasn't formally charged with assault, what authorities did find turned his world upside down. Imagine the scene. You're a TV star riding high on fame, and suddenly the cops discover an arsenal of unregistered firearms, plus a sizable stash of drugs like crystal meth, marijuana, and Xanax. That's not just a minor oops, that's basically a neon sign flashing legal nightmare ahead.
So you used to come in, we used to have it, Rick and the old man used to buy our lunch, we wouldn't take a lunch break. You know, I would run a lot of errands, go to the store for everyone, go get mail. So I would do things like, this is not a joke at all, I would do things like...
Naturally, headlines exploded. Pawn stars Chumlee busted. It was the kind of tabloid drama that reality TV fans couldn't resist. Overnight, Chumlee went from lovable goof to potential felon, facing nearly 20 charges. But as the dust settled, his lawyer hammered out a plea deal. He pleaded guilty to unlawful firearm possession and attempted drug possession, resulting in a few years of probation.
You know, Rick always says pawn shops were basically the first form of banking, so they've been around for, thousands and thousands of years. But to fast forward,
bankers weren't that colorful back in the day.
No.
You can't bring
While it wasn't exactly a slap on the wrist, it also wasn't the doomsday sentence that clickbait headlines would have you believe. Life sentence? Absolutely not. But you better believe this was a reality check for Chumlee, forcing him to reevaluate the path he was headed down. So how does a guy go from possible prison time to opening a candy store? Well, if you're Chumlee, you pick yourself up, dust off the negativity, and prove you've still got that entrepreneurial spark. Instead of wallowing in legal drama, he refocused on his brand, which, surprise, surprise, included Chumlee's Candy on the Boulevard. The store is right next to the famous gold and silver pawn shop, and it's basically a sugar paradise packed with classic candies, retro memorabilia, and quirky souvenirs. A sweet spot for fans, tourists, and sugar fiends alike. And believe it or not, the candy store isn't just some vanity project, it's a legit success. People swing by hoping to catch a glimpse of Chumlee himself, maybe snag a selfie, and stock up on treats like abazabas or Pez dispensers. In a city as over-the-top as Las Vegas, a nostalgia-themed candy shop next to a famous pawn shop is basically marketing gold. This pivot helped Chumlee prove he wasn't some one-note TV sidekick destined to fade away. He could hustle behind the scenes, manage a team, and keep the hype alive. By pairing a lighthearted persona with real business savvy, he managed to keep his name buzzing, for all the right reasons this time. As if legal troubles weren't enough, Chumlee had another massive battle on his hands: his health. For years, he'd struggled with weight issues. Anyone who's ever watched Pawn Stars noticed Chumlee's physique change over time. On-camera jokes aside, this was serious. His dad had passed away from pancreatic cancer at just 54, so longevity and wellness weren't exactly hypothetical concerns. After tasting success, pun intended, at his candy shop, Chumlee decided it was time to switch gears and tackle weight loss head-on. First, he tried the traditional route: healthy meals, cutting out junk food, no more red meat, and hitting the gym like a champ. He lost over 75 pounds, which was a massive accomplishment. Fans on social media went wild, showering him with support and motivation. But as many of us know all too well, the weight can creep back when life gets hectic. Realizing he needed a more permanent solution, Chumlee opted for gastric bypass surgery. Post-operation, the guy dropped around 160 pounds total, an absolutely staggering transformation. He's now out there enjoying activities he once only dreamed of, like riding hoverboards and just generally moving around with more ease. In true Chumlee fashion, he made this journey relatable, proving that real change is possible if you stay committed. You'd think with a major surgery, a candy business, and legal drama in the rearview, Chumlee might be ready to ride into the sunset. Wrong. Pawn Stars didn't just keep going. It spun off into a whole new road trip adventure called Pawn Stars Do America. Instead of staying holed up in Vegas, the cast embarked on a nationwide trek, meeting dedicated collectors in their own backyards. In essence, it flipped the script. No longer did weird and wonderful items have to walk through the gold and silver pawn doors. Chumlee and crew would come knocking themselves. Detroit, for instance, got a special visit, and rumor has it Chumlee was positively geeking out over local treasures. Think rock memorabilia, neon signs, vintage toys, or hidden vaults of rare comics. Each new city brought fresh faces, unusual stories, and of course, the thrill of the deal. Chumlee's role? Besides comedic relief, he was the on-the-ground eyes and ears, often bridging the gap between hardcore collectors and the show's experts. This road trip format gave the show new energy, gave fans more reasons to tune in, and reminded everyone that Chumlee was far from a one-dimensional TV sidekick. He was having fun, cracking jokes, and proving that redemption arcs can be entertaining. As if traveling the country wasn't enough, Chumlee decided to tap into yet another passion: gaming. If you thought the candy store was random, wait until you hear about Chum's adventure, the quest for Pinky. Yep, the guy actually got his very own retro-style video game released on cartridge for old-school Nintendo console enthusiasts. Think vintage side-scrolling action with pixelated characters, hidden Easter eggs, and references to Chumlee's real life. Like the quest to rescue his beloved dog, Pinky. Why a homebrew game, you ask? Well, there's a thriving community of fans out there who love brand new games designed for classic consoles. Chumlee saw the opportunity to merge his lifelong love of retro gaming with his personal brand. And let's be honest, it's pure nostalgia candy for fans of the 8-bit era. Plus, as a collector himself, Chumlee definitely knows how to target the niche markets. He teased that beating the game without taking a single hit could unlock some insane surprise content. Fan forums lit up with excitement and speculation. Was it a new cutscene? A secret character? Regardless, the hype did exactly what Chumlee hoped. Kept people talking about him, his brand, and his wild ride from rumored life sentence to unstoppable pop culture entrepreneur. Candy stores, TV spin-offs, a retro video game. What's left for Chumlee to conquer? Comic-Con, of course. In 2024, he was spotted strolling around San Diego Comic-Con in a flashy bathrobe, sipping coffee from a cute Japanese mug, and rummaging through stacks of Pokemon cards. It was like seeing your laid-back buddy who just happens to star on TV living his best life among fellow collectors and pop culture nerds. And let's not forget the big guest appearances. Robert Downey Jr. was there. Major comics legends like Todd McFarlane, Mitsuhiro Arita, the genius behind iconic Pokemon art, and Stan Sakai of Usagi Yojimbo fame were also on hand. Chumlee, true to form, was fanboying right alongside everyone else, snapping selfies and geeking out over the creativity on display. For fans, it's refreshing to see him in this casual, down-to-earth mode. Far from the glitz and scandal that once plagued his name, these fan interactions are precisely why he remains so beloved. He's that approachable, goofy pal you'd want to share a pizza with, not some aloof superstar. And as more pictures and posts poured in, it became crystal clear that Chumlee's transformation was more than physical. He was living a lifestyle that merged business, fandom, and self-improvement in a big, celebratory swirl. So here we are, wrapping up a story that started with insane headlines about a life sentence, and ended in a reality that's much more triumphant. Yes, Chumlee faced serious legal trouble, and yes, he had to deal with the consequences. But no, he didn't get locked up for life. Instead, he used the turbulence to spark a transformation, dropping weight, growing his business portfolio, and stepping onto bigger stages, both literally and figuratively. From playing the lovable clown on Pawn Stars to rolling out a candy empire, a video game, and traveling the country on a spin-off show, Chumlee's journey is a testament to turning your life around, piece by piece when the odds seem stacked against you. Which begs the question, is this the final evolution of Chumlee, or is he just getting started? Whether you love him for his comedic timing, admire his entrepreneurial hustle, or relate to his battle for better health, you can't deny the sheer unpredictability of his path, and that's exactly why people keep tuning in. So, is Chumlee poised to break even more boundaries and surprise us yet again? That's for you to decide, and for all of us to watch. Let's hear your thoughts. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.